Have you ever looked at someone you love and thought, something feels different, but I can't quite put my finger on it? Maybe their clothes seem a little looser, or they just don't have the same energy they used to. You tell yourself it's just part of aging. But what if it's not? Most people believe that aging is a slow, steady process. But in reality, the body often gives subtle warnings long before the final stage of life. The problem is, these signs are so small at first that they're easy to overlook. By the time families realize what's happening, precious time has already slipped away. That's why it's so important to recognize these changes early, not to be afraid of them, but to be prepared. Because when you know what to look for, you can offer better care, create meaningful memories, and ensure your loved one's final stage of life is filled with comfort, dignity, and love. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm about to share might change the way you see the time you have left with someone you love. And if you find this helpful, type 1 in the comments to let me know you're here. Sophia's story, the signs were there, but no one noticed. Sophia had always been independent. Even in her late 80s, she prided herself on doing things on her own, cooking her favorite meals, walking in the garden, and dressing up just because it made her feel good. But then, small changes started happening. Her daughter, Lisa, noticed that Sophia's favorite dress suddenly looked too big on her. "Mom, have you lost weight?" she asked one day. Sophia just smiled and waved it off. "Oh, I just haven't been as hungry lately." At first, Lisa didn't think much of it. After all, it's normal for older adults to eat a little less, right? But then she started noticing other things. Sophia got tired more easily. She stopped going for her walks. Her once strong hands now trembled slightly as she held her coffee cup. Lisa brushed it off as normal aging, but looking back, she wished she had paid closer attention. Because those small changes weren't just part of getting older, they were signs that Sophia's body was slowly preparing for its final stage of life. Sign number 1, unexplained weight loss. One of the first signs that a person may be in their final year of life is unintentional weight loss. If your loved one is losing weight without trying, it's a red flag. As the body starts to slow down, it struggles to absorb nutrients the way it used to. Muscles shrink, fat stores decrease, and even if they eat normally, they may still lose weight. Their appetite might also change. Foods they once loved suddenly don't taste the same, and they may start skipping meals. And it's not just about the number on the scale. Weight loss leads to weaker muscles, making it harder to stand, walk, or even hold everyday objects. It also weakens the immune system, increasing the risk of infections and illnesses. Sign number 2, extreme fatigue and weakness. Sophia used to wake up early, make herself breakfast, and start her day with a smile. But slowly, things changed. She began sleeping later. Getting out of bed became a struggle. Even simple tasks, like brushing her hair, took too much effort. This wasn't just normal tiredness. This was profound, deep exhaustion that didn't go away with rest. As the body approaches its final stage, it conserves energy by shutting down non-essential functions. The heart pumps less efficiently, blood circulation slows, and muscles don't get as much oxygen. That's why movement becomes more difficult and why your loved one might start needing more naps or longer periods of rest. For families, this can be heartbreaking to watch. You may feel tempted to encourage them to get up and move or try a little harder. But in reality, forcing activity won't help. It will only make them feel more exhausted and discouraged. What can you do? Practical ways to help. So, what can you do if you notice these signs in someone you love? First, don't panic. These changes don't always mean the end is near, but they do mean your loved one needs extra care and attention. Encourage small, nutritious meals. Instead of big meals, offer easy-to-eat foods like smoothies, soups, and soft fruits. Focus on hydration. Dehydration can make fatigue worse, so make sure they're drinking enough water, tea, or even broth. Make movement easier. Instead of pushing them to exercise, help them with gentle movements, such as stretching in bed or short walks if they're able. Be patient with appetite changes. If they're not hungry, don't force food. Instead, offer snacks throughout the day and encourage whatever they feel like eating. Support their energy levels. Allow them to rest as needed, but keep their environment engaging with soft music, familiar voices, and warm conversations. Looking back, Lisa wishes she had recognized the signs sooner. She wishes she had spent more quiet mornings sitting with Sophia rather than assuming she'd have more time later. Because in the end, time is the one thing we can't get back. If you're noticing these changes in someone you love, don't wait until it's too late to cherish the time you have left. Understanding these signs isn't about fearing death, it's about being prepared for it. It's about making sure your loved one feels safe, loved, and comfortable in their final chapter. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Many families have walked this path before, and while it's never easy, being aware of these changes gives you the chance to create meaningful, loving moments that truly matter. If this message resonates with you, let me know in the comments by typing 1. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video, where we'll talk about another important sign you need to look out for. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Lisa sat across from her mother, watching as Sophia slowly stirred her tea. There was a quiet moment before Sophia looked up, confusion flickering in her eyes. "Did I already put sugar in this?" she asked. Lisa smiled, about to reassure her, but then she noticed something. This wasn't the first time her mother had asked that today, and it wasn't just about the tea. Lately, Sophia had been forgetting little things: where she placed her glasses, what day it was, the name of a neighbor she had known for years. At first, Lisa brushed it off. After all, everyone forgets things now and then, but as weeks passed, the moments of forgetfulness grew more frequent. And then something else happened. Sophia started withdrawing. Conversations that once flowed so easily became shorter. She stopped calling friends. Some days she barely spoke at all. That's when Lisa realized this wasn't just normal aging. Something deeper was happening. If you've ever seen a loved one go through this, if you've ever felt that sinking feeling that something is changing but you don't know how to stop it, stay with me. Because understanding what's happening now will help you bring them comfort in ways you never imagined. And if this resonates with you, type 2 in the comments to let me know you're here. The mind slowing down more than just forgetfulness. One of the most heartbreaking signs that someone is in their final year is cognitive decline. Not just the occasional forgotten name, but deeper, more noticeable confusion. It starts small: a misplaced item, a forgotten appointment. But then it progresses. They start struggling to follow conversations. They ask the same question multiple times. They may even forget faces they've known for decades. Lisa noticed this firsthand with Sophia. One afternoon, she mentioned visiting her brother over the weekend. Sophia smiled and nodded, but just minutes later she asked, "When was the last time you saw your brother?" As if they had never spoken about it. This was more than just an aging brain. It was a sign that Sophia's mind was slowing down, much like the rest of her body. Why? This happens, the body conserves energy. The brain, like any other organ, needs a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients to function properly. But as circulation weakens, so does mental clarity. The brain starts prioritizing basic functions, and higher-level thinking like problem-solving, decision-making, and memory starts to fade. And it's not just memory loss. Some people begin losing track of time. Morning and evening blur together. They may suddenly forget where they are, even in familiar places. In some cases, they experience brief moments of clarity, followed by sudden confusion, almost like their mind is flickering in and out. For families, this can be especially difficult to witness. One day, your loved one seems completely like themselves. The next, they struggle to recognize familiar faces. It feels like losing them before they're even gone. The emotional shift, when they start to withdraw. Then there's another change, one that's even harder to understand. Many seniors in their final stage pull away from social interactions. They stop making phone calls. They sit in silence more often. Even when surrounded by family, they seem distant, as if they're somewhere else. Lisa saw this shift in Sophia too. Once she had been the heart of family gatherings, always laughing, always talking. But now, she spent long hours simply sitting in her chair, staring out the window. "Mom, do you want to call Aunt Mary today?" Lisa asked one afternoon. Sophia shook her head. "No, maybe another day." Another day never came. This withdrawal isn't about losing interest. It's the brain's way of retreating as it prepares for the final stage of life. Conversations take effort. Socializing becomes overwhelming. Their world starts to feel smaller, quieter. What can you do? Practical ways to help. Watching this happen is painful, but there are things you can do to make this journey easier for them and for yourself. Keep things simple. Instead of asking open-ended questions, give gentle prompts. Instead of, "What do you want for dinner?" Try, "Would you like soup or pasta?" Create a calm environment. Loud noises and overstimulation can be stressful. Keep surroundings familiar, quiet, and peaceful. Use touch and presence. Sometimes words are too much. A gentle hand on theirs, sitting beside them in silence, or playing soft music they love can bring more comfort than conversation. Follow their pace. If they don't feel like talking, don't force it. If they want to reminisce about the past, join them in the memory. Reassure them confusion can be scary. Instead of correcting them when they get something wrong, gently guide them. If they call you by the wrong name, simply smile and say, "I'm right here with you." Lisa used to think she had to keep her mother engaged, to remind her of things, to make sure she stayed sharp. But in the end, she realized the best thing she could do was just be there. Some days, Sophia would hold her hand and smile, as if she remembered everything. Other days, she barely spoke at all. But Lisa stopped trying to pull her back into the present. Instead, she met her where she was. Because sometimes love isn't in the words, it's in the quiet moments of being together. If your loved one is becoming more forgetful, more confused, or more distant, don't ignore it. These are signs that their body and mind are transitioning. And while it's painful to watch, knowing what's happening gives you the power to make these days as peaceful, comforting, and filled with love as possible. If this message touched you, type 2 in the comments. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video, where we'll talk about another crucial sign you need to know. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Lisa sat at the kitchen table watching her mother sip her tea. The once warm smile on Sophia's face had faded into something softer, more distant. It wasn't just the forgetfulness anymore. Something else had changed. Sophia, who rarely got sick before, had now caught 3 colds in the last 2 months. A small scratch on her arm, which should have healed in days, lingered for weeks. One night, she developed a fever that left her exhausted for days, yet she never once complained. "It's just a little cold," she kept saying. But Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was happening. If you've ever noticed a loved one getting sick more often, healing more slowly, or seeming weaker after every small illness, don't brush it off. These aren't just random health problems. They're signs that the body's defenses are breaking down. And if you understand what's happening now, you can help them stay as comfortable as possible in the time they have left. Stay with me, because this is one of the most overlooked signs of decline. And if you're still here, type 3 in the comments to let me know you're following along. Why the body stops fighting back. Sophia's immune system had always been strong. But in the past few months, everything had changed. A simple cough lingered longer. Small bruises took weeks to fade. And every time she got sick, she seemed to bounce back a little slower than before. This happens because as the body begins to shut down, it stops prioritizing protection. The immune system, which once fought off infections easily, no longer works the same way. White blood cell production slows. The body doesn't react to infections the way it used to. That's why illnesses in the elderly look different. Instead of running a high fever, they may just seem extra tired or more confused than usual. Instead of showing clear signs of infection, they might just eat less, sleep more, or seem a little off. Families often don't recognize these changes as serious until it's too late. But by the time infections become obvious, the body is already struggling to fight back. Frequent infections, a warning sign. Lisa noticed her mother's hands trembling as she reached for her cup. Sophia had been fighting a small cough for weeks, and her energy just wasn't coming back. "Maybe we should see the doctor, Mom," Lisa suggested. Sophia waved her off. "It's just a little cold. No need to fuss." But that little cold didn't go away, and a few weeks later, Sophia developed a urinary tract infection, something she had never struggled with before. For many elderly people, pneumonia, urinary tract infections, and skin infections become more common in their final year. These aren't just random illnesses, they're signs that the immune system is wearing down. And the scariest part? These infections don't always show the usual symptoms. A UTI in an elderly person might not cause pain or discomfort. It might just make them more confused, more tired, or withdrawn. Pneumonia might not come with a bad cough, but instead, they just seem weaker, sleepier, or less interested in eating. If your loved one keeps getting sick, or if they seem to be taking longer and longer to recover, their body is trying to tell you something. Why healing slows down. One day, Lisa noticed a small scratch on Sophia's arm. "How did you get that?" she asked. Sophia shrugged. "I don't remember. Probably nothing." But weeks passed, and the scratch was still there. What should have healed in days remained an open wound, turning red around the edges. This happens because the body's ability to heal weakens as circulation slows down. The blood carries oxygen and nutrients to wounds, but when the heart isn't pumping as strongly, those essential healing factors don't reach the skin as quickly. That's why bruises appear more easily and take longer to fade. Scratches, cuts, or sores don't heal properly and may even reopen. Pressure sores, bed sores, develop in those who sit or lie in one position too long. And when healing slows, the risk of serious infections increases. A small wound that once would have been harmless can become a major issue if bacteria enter the bloodstream. How you can help, practical solutions. Lisa wished she had known what to do sooner. She had assumed Sophia's little illnesses and slow healing were just part of getting older. But had she understood the signs, she could have helped her mother stay comfortable and prevent unnecessary suffering. Here's what you can do if you notice these signs in your loved one. Watch for hidden infections. If they suddenly seem more tired, confused, or uninterested in food, don't just assume it's a bad day. It could be an infection. Keep their skin healthy. Moisturize dry skin, check for cuts or bruises, and make sure they aren't sitting or lying in one spot too long. Encourage hydration. Many infections, like UTIs, are worsened by dehydration. Make sure they're drinking enough fluids. Be gentle with their immune system. Avoid exposing them to colds and flu, and consider asking a doctor about vaccines or other ways to boost their health. Prioritize comfort, not just treatment. At a certain stage, aggressive medical treatments do more harm than good. Sometimes the best care is making sure they're at peace, pain-free, and surrounded by love. Final thoughts, the gentle art of letting go. Lisa had spent so much time trying to fix things, getting the right medicine, scheduling doctor's appointments, making sure Sophia ate enough. But eventually, she realized something important. It wasn't about fixing anymore. It was about comfort, because some things couldn't be reversed. The infections would keep coming. The healing would keep slowing. But what Lisa could do, what all of us can do, is make those last months as peaceful, loving, and meaningful as possible. So if you've been noticing these signs in your loved one, take a deep breath. You're not alone. Many families have walked this path before, and while it's never easy, knowing what's happening gives you the power to make the most of the time you have left together. And if this message spoke to you, let me know by typing 3 in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. In the next video, we'll talk about another crucial sign that most families don't recognize until it's too late. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.